Hey everybody, it's Tara Green here. How are you doing? So we've just had, I know I'm a bit behind here, we've just had the Aquarius Full Moon, July 29th at 10:36 a.m. That came 2 hours after the very auspicious Jupiter-Sun conjunction at 6 degrees of Leo at 8:18 a.m. All these times are in Eastern Daylight Time. That rare Kazemi, that's what it's called, when any planet sits in the heart of the sun. It's a very tight aspect, has to be 17 minutes and 60 minutes in 1 degree. It has to be 17 minutes either side of the sun. So it's very tight. So it did last during this full moon, so that makes it extra special. But at the same time, as you can see, the tension going on here is there's that Jupiter-Sun Kazemi, there's Pluto conjunct the moon. And so, actually, interesting. Right, Pluto conjunct the moon there. Okay. And Juno, too. So, there's that major tension because there's that very positive, sometimes over-positive, sometimes over-optimistic Jupiter-Sun conjunction, and then Pluto, the Lord of Death and Rebirth. If you've seen the Odyssey, I'm really glad. I hope that it will help people getting back into studying Greek mythology, because the planets, this type of Western astrology is very much based on those Greek myths, and these were the personifications of the gods and the goddesses as the planets. Jupiter is Zeus, Pluto is Hades, the moon is Selene, or they have different names. The sun is Apollo. They have Greek and Roman names, right? But it's all the same thing. So we're seeing here the battle of Jupiter and Pluto were brothers, and Jupiter, of course, was the head god, and Pluto was the lord of the underworld, right? Neptune was a brother too. It's all incestuous and all that stuff. But anyway, so there we have all the dynamic connections here, and you can see also what else is going on here. So of course, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, and Uranus is in a trine, to Pluto and Uranus there as well. This is still the fulfillment of the Barbault Basket, I would say. And so here's that basket, which does involve Juno, which people aren't talking about enough. Juno is my favorite goddess, the feminine form of genius. The month of June is named in her honor. So there's Pluto, Juno, and there's the moon also sextiling Neptune at 4 degrees of Aries, sextiling Uranus at 4 degrees of Gemini, and Pluto and Juno and the moon are trining Uranus, bringing in all that extra energy, and Uranus is also sextiling Jupiter and the sun. So that's a very nice configuration, right? So Pluto and Juno and the moon will bring on probably really wild, really crazy dreams. Can be major hacking, could be major innovations. The moon always represents the population. In a mundane astrology chart, it represents women, your homes, big eruptions. It can mean more earthquakes, which have been going on anyway. There's not much Earth, although Virgo, Venus going on there, and the nodes have just moved, actually, out of Pluto, Virgo. Now, it depends which system you use. If you use mean nodes, yes, they moved a few days ago. If you use true nodes, they're not going to move for the next few days. They'll have to kind of feel that out, Mercury's in Cancer, so really those are the only two planets that are not in fire or air. Mars is in Gemini with Ceres. There's a Ceres Lilith opposition going on there. This is the mother whore opposition going on there, focused on Venus and Virgo, who's the perfectionist, very tidy, organized, humble. So that could be coming up in the psyche with Mars. They're also opposite Lilith. It could feel like, women are now being very angry and voicing how angry they are and saying, we're not going to take it anymore, and we're not being your servants, because Virgo is the sign of servants. So that's a good thing. And that's been coming on since the year 2000. So we're 26 years into this 2000-year Great Mother returning. So I'm curious to ask you, have your dreams been different under this information? I had a very kind of lucid dream the other day about one of my favorite old singers, Laura Nero. Neptune's retrograde, Pluto's retrograde. Chiron is about to go to retrograde on August the 3rd. And so this lunation, the Barbault Basket, which everybody's been sort of like turned into a basket case about, yes, it is a very rare thing. He didn't say it was exactly as hyped up as it was. The thing about Jupiter also, yes, it's a great aspect. I always err on that. It's great for Sagittarius and Pisces, which Jupiter rules. It's great for Leos, of course. It's great for all the fire signs, Sag, Aries. But, you got to be careful with Jupiter because he's a little bit too optimistic sometimes. Now, I like the tension between Lilith, Ceres, and Mars, focusing on Jupiter there. I like that. That's called a T-square there. Also, Chiron here is also the focus. This is also really important. Chiron just entering Taurus, sitting at that 0 degree. For now, it's the only other planet in Earth. And it's important because there's not much to ground us except the wounds in our bodies. So if you're feeling more physical wounds, pain, tiredness, my husband and I certainly have been since Chiron entered Taurus. It's also squaring in a hard aspect to the Sun and Jupiter, so you could be feeling more of that if you're real sensitive, never mind the solar flares and the Schumann resonance being off the charts, and also Juno and Pluto and the Moon also. So your moods could be really affected by the Moon, and the Moon always makes things up and down. You gotta remember, this is a full moon. This is always a completion, but it is in Aquarius, so when the Moon is in a masculine sign, and I'm kind of tired of all the gender stuff because this is archetypes, you always have to have those complementary opposites. Fire and air are considered to be masculine, active, daylight, and earth and water are feminine, receptive, night. And that's just the way it is. And so we get a chance to breathe a little bit. We get to, take a step back. Okay, so on the 3rd, Chiron is going to start to move retrograde as well, but it'll take a little while until it moves back into Aries, further amping up all the fire and air energy. And we are getting ready to go into eclipse season. So, also this is a micro moon, so the moon is not as powerful. It's further away from the earth on the tides as our emotions. And again, this gives us a chance to get a sense of the big picture. Do we want to break away? Do we want to radically change? I think people are feeling frustrated as the pressure builds to do that. Now with the North Node now in Leo at that 29th degree, sitting right on Trump's ascendant, by the way, and his Mars, we are leaving that egotistic, the Hollywood bullshit, the glamour, the over the top, the big egos, all of that's going down. That's also has to do with Saturn and Neptune Aries, but this is great. I love it. All the fake TikTokers, self-acclaimed shamans and geniuses and whatever, they're all going down because everybody's going, nah, we're not buying into that big ego trip. So influences are going to be over and stuff like that. And we're going into the North Node in Aquarius, which is about radical, higher consciousness, protest, freedom, and people are waking up more and more and more. So as the North Node moves backwards through Aquarius for the next 18 months, there'll be more of that sort of major shifting. We're starting to feel the collective consciousness moving. Aquarius is a social sign. It's the only human sign besides Virgo, one of the oldest and biggest constellations of the Great Mother. So Aquarius, the water bearer, pouring the waters of higher consciousness down from the stars, remembering that you are a star. Sun conjunct Jupiter is definitely about that, pouring down higher consciousness. And how can you star in your own movie here? That's very much what this is all about. You're the director, the actor, you're all parts of that. So yeah, so this is a good full moon, especially I love that Jupiter Sun conjunction. And the Barbault Basket will have a kind of part 2 on November the 28th, 29th. Also my birthday on the 29th. And so if you want to join me, I will be live Friday, July the 31st on Facebook on the Cosmic Intelligence Agency at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So join me there. If you want to get in touch with me, if you want me to go through your chart in great depth and offer psychic insights as well, meditations, mantras for you, additional healing tools, get in touch with me at tarottarot.com. Blessings to you.